Sure.
Can we grab you?
Sure. Oh,
Terrific.
Yeah.
8 years.
I want to. I want to.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I do. Oh, no.
You should say that on the air.
I will.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you wanna go?
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Avi Meyers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Special thanks to my entire technical crew, the personal savior of Rabbi Hersh, Rabbi Moskowitz, and all Lubavitch girls everywhere, Sonny Hersh, not to mention the chairman of the District Advisory Committee. And you know what? We're going to shortly segue into my favorite guest, your favorite guest, our favorite guest. And he told me to cut out all the titles. The Alderman of the 50th Ward, among many other things, Alderman Berny Stone. And we're going to shake the other hand because he busted that one yesterday.
Yeah, that was last week.
Anyway, as they say in French, refuah shlema b'mheira.
Thank you very much.
And Rabbi Doug, we'll call him to make sure he gives a proper refuah shlema for you.
Rabbi Doug gave me a call a couple weeks ago regarding Alderman Wagoda, and thank God that he gave me that call because I was able to see Alderman Wagoda before he passed away.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. I don't remember him from way back when.
Yeah, and thanks to Rabbi Doug for giving me that call, and because I was able to visit with the Alderman before he passed away.
I knew him a little bit. His son was a very nice person.
Well, he's got three sons. I know all three of them, and fortunately I got to visit with him. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the funeral because, unfortunately, I was sick during Pesach.
Oh, that I'm sorry to hear, too. Anyway, too much...
I never got to eat the matzah, so... Well,
I'll tell you this much. Even though Pesach's been over a week, I think the matzah still's with me.
Yeah, me too.
And anyway, there's so much going on. You know what? The first thing I want to talk about, and I do want to mention, just for my own, for people, even though I've got a 3-year subscription to the Pioneer newspaper, Angela Caputo, the regular reporter, has left the neighborhood. She was really good. She's gone on to the we used to call it the Southeast Economist, but the Southtown daily paper, and I wish her all the luck in the world.
I do too. She was a good reporter.
She was terrific, and she covered things very well, and we miss her. Lorraine Swanson, as a contributor, did not show up to the meeting for the 2E TIF. As the second meeting, I didn't even know about, to be honest with you.
Well, the second meeting I knew about, but I couldn't attend, and I was out of town.
If I would have known about it, I would have shown up.
I was out of town, and I told him I would be out of town.
But the fact is that in terms of the story itself, she did not show up at the meeting. The person she interviewed is not a responsible spokesman for the groups that are against you. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, anybody who wants to look the guy up on Google, she didn't even spell the guy's name right, by the way. And if you want to look the guy up on Google, I mean, there's something not right about it. But you know what? Let's talk about the Park Plaza situation,
okay.
The development on Tui. Tell me what is going on. What do they want to do? The buyer. I mean, give us the current news here.
Well, as of Tuesday, when I met with the
May 2nd is when we're filming. So okay.
As of Tuesday, when I met with the
or May 3rd. I'm sorry.
When I met with the developer, I told him point blank that we were not going ahead unless I had a commitment that Park Plaza remains as it is currently.
A senior retirement assisted living facility.
Absolutely, and I wanted a commitment for at least 10 years.
In writing.
Oh, I wouldn't do it without it.
Okay.
And he said he couldn't do that. I said, you can't do it, then you're not going to get any rezoning. And then he says, if no rezoning, he hasn't got a deal. Now, he is talking other other potentials on it. And he's gone back to the drawing boards. I'm supposed to meet with him again later this week, which will be before this airs. And there are other potentials. In the meantime, that same day, I met with a second person who's interested in developing the same site, perhaps not in the same way.
Yeah.
And I let the current developer know that there was other people interested in developing it. And I also told both of them that the current owner thinks that he can, if the deal falls through, that he can do whatever he feels like, including turning the current building into a condominium. The answer is no, he can't, because it's a planned development, and he cannot take the current building and turn it into a condominium, because as a planned development, before he changes the use of the current building, he must come back to the Plan Commission.
So he can't stop it.
I don't know if Asformis understands this. Asformis has his own thing, which he calls Asformis' law. And Asformis' law can't override the actual law. Asformis thinks because he's a close friend of Alderman Burke's that he can do anything. Well, he can't do anything in the 50th Ward, and Alderman Burke is a close friend of mine. And Alderman Burke is going to so advise him that he just can't do these things. I'm telling you right now that Asformis can't just do what he thinks he can do.
And by the way, I'll take Pinchas Eisenbach over Asformis any day of the week.
Well, Asformis cannot do what he thinks he can do. And he's not going to abandon the people who are currently in the building, not without having a ghost town in Park Plaza.
And by the way, it looks like they are trying to deliberately create a ghost town, because when they talk about redeveloping this, anybody who's thinking about living in there, are not going to move there? Because first of all, I'm 54. Okay, I don't want to move. People older than me especially don't want to move. And if somebody's like in their late 60s, need a retirement home, they're not going to want to move somewhere that maybe a year or two from now is going to change.
Avi, let me tell you, number one, when you get to be a senior, and I am a senior, you don't want to move. Moving is very traumatic. But let me tell you something. There are other potential options for the people who are currently in Asformis' building. So Asformis just can't do what he wants to do, and there are options for the people who are currently residents in Park Plaza. So I'm going to just leave it at that. I'm just going to tell you, it ain't a done deal. I've been saying this from the beginning. I know there's all kinds of petitions out, and I'm telling those people who have the petitions, just hold tight.
Jonathan Stopek.
Just hold tight. This ain't a done deal, and it ain't necessarily so. And there's a long road between here and what's going to be.
And by the way, as I've mentioned on the show before, so I need to bring this up just to be completely people to be aware of my financial interests here. I have a beef fry sandwich bet that you would not approve that kind of deal.
Currently, you're a winner.
And okay? I'm looking forward to crunching into that Romanian beef fry.
Currently, you're a winner. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
And that ends my discussion on Park Plaza.
Excellent, and thank you. And by the way, your integrity shines through again, and the whole community appreciates that. And whether they do or don't, they should. Now, okay, Devon Rockwell parking lot.
What about it?
Project. Okay.
I've never heard so many lies, so many misstatements, so many incorrect statements, and I've got to tell you that the Pioneer Press is a yellow journal. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother to print all these lies. They have never come to me and asked for the facts. They print all of these. I'm not going to say the word I was about to say.
We know what you were going to say. And by the way,
and
that
it starts
same word
with a B and ends with a T.
But by the way, that same word has been fueling my vegetable garden for a number of years.
Oh yes. I don't know where there's a bull around here. They will give you that.
Well, I go over to one of the local garden centers and whatever.
Why would you print this crap?
You can say that. Yeah.
Why would you print this stuff without even knowing what the truth is? And why would they quote all these people without bothering to ask? They've never bothered to ask. They haven't asked the builder. They haven't asked me. I have on my desk a copy of the plan. Tomorrow night, or certainly by Monday, I will have the stamp plans. In other words, the seal, that's the architect's seal on it. I am going for the builder. I will deliver those seal plans to DCAP, which is Department of Construction and Permits, and ask them to issue the permit on the plans.
Now,
all of this thing is all for naught. Now, do you want to ask me questions so that I can put to rest all the crap that's been fed on this?
You bet. And as a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. Now, my first question. You know what? Well, first of all, my first question is: you still like Ben Jaworski?
Well,
he's the guy that wrote the story. The Reader.
Ben asked me a question. I answered the question, and Ben never bothered to put my answer in the story.
Okay.
What he put in the story is what the other people said. He never put my answer in the story, which bothers me.
I tried telling you Ben's no good.
Well, that bothers me. Why wouldn't you put the answer I gave him? At that time, I really didn't have the plan, but I knew approximately what it would be. And I gave him a legitimate answer.
So these guys are claiming, among other things, okay, these guys are claiming, first of all, that an entire floor of parking is only 5 feet high, so that it doesn't count. In other words, how can you get out of a car in a 5-foot-high section of parking and actually park your car in that section? Is it 5 feet high?
No.
I mean, I'm 6'4". Could I walk out of there and not bump my head on the roof?
Absolutely not.
Okay, now they're saying a number of parking spaces will not exist because, and by the way, because as you round, like this can't be a parking space because you need like 87 feet more than this to turn the corner on the building.
I'll let DCAP determine how many parking spaces there are. I can only tell you this, that the question they raised was how many spaces more are there than what exists now.
And by the way, we should explain to people that are not familiar with this. And by the way, first of all, what we're talking about on Devon and Rockwell, which is actually the worst pedestrian and maybe car intersection in this neighborhood, where nobody respects red lights, green lights, anything. There is a parking lot that I think, thanks to the old business association, there's a ridiculous turn into it, but that's another story. The fact is there's a certain amount of spaces that don't work well for the community. It's not enough spaces. Any car that tries to go and park there to try to buy things there, there's not enough spaces for the businesses there, number one. Number two is it's a bad intersection. So, and you know what? And
the entrance is off center. It's not at the corner.
It's a ridiculous. They're actually crossing against traffic, and I think that was the old business association's doing.
Anybody who turns left cannot turn at the corner, but must turn after the corner, and therefore blocks traffic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's a horrible intersection. And the fact is that besides for needing, now first of all, we've been talking about building this building on the show for at least 6 years that I know of.
Closer to 8.
Okay. This has also been mentioned at neighborhood CAPS meetings. And I run the CAPS district for this neighborhood. And by the way, I will stand behind the one thing I will say, Angela's last story in Pioneer against the CAPS administration downtown, I will stand behind every comment I made. Just from my standpoint, because while I'm a big fan of community policing, as you are, I'm not a big fan of downtown CAPS administration.
Well, let's talk about the numbers. Talk about numbers.
Right. I'm sorry, the Devon Rockwell.
All right.
So okay, now in terms of the numbers, right now.
What have the opponents been saying What are the
They're
number
saying
of
that
spaces?
you're going to spend $4.5 million for 60 parking spaces.
Well, first
That's
of
what
all,
they're
it's
saying.
not $4.5 million, but that's beside the point. For 60 spaces over and above what's there now. Is that correct?
Right.
Well, what's there now is approximately 50 spaces, 50 surface spaces, in an L-shaped configured surface lot.
Right.
And they're saying there'll be 60 more spaces, or a total of 110.
Right.
Well, they're wrong. And if you look at the plan, you'll find out they're wrong.
Now,
And I've been saying that all the time. And they refuse to listen.
Okay, now what they're going to
one of the individuals stood up at a meeting which had nothing to do with the parking lot and says, I have here a plan in my briefcase. He didn't pull it out of his briefcase, but he said he had a plan. What was interesting is at the time he said he had a plan, I didn't have a plan, so I don't know how he had a plan.
By the way,
because the plan didn't exist at the time he said
Don't
he had
forget,
a plan.
Joe McCarthy had a list of, 248 communists.
Yeah, well, at the time he said he had a plan, no plan existed. Well, the plan that exists now and is about to be sealed, certified and sealed by the architect, has 231 spaces. 31 spaces are set aside for the condos.
So 31 for the condos, at least 200.
That means 200 for public parking.
Right, now there's 50 now.
50 now, so that means 150 over and above what exists now. They say 60. Well, by me, 150 is a lot more than 60.
I would.
It's almost 3 times 60.
You know, I think I might have gotten an F+ in math, so I think you're right. I think
well, I'm
150 is
pretty
more
good
than 60.
I'm pretty good in math.
Anyway, by the way, I actually got a 31 in the AC. Actually, I got over a 700 on the LSAT in math. So
that let's stop that crap about there's only 60 more. There's 150 more than exist now. Okay, that's the number. So that answers that question right here and now.
Now, is the
There's
developer
3 floors of parking and total of 231 spaces. And 31 are set aside for the condos that are on the 5th and 6th floor. Someone says there's 7 floors. There are not 7 floors. There are 6 floors, period. 6 floors are not unusual. As a matter of fact, in the very near future, there will be other buildings built on Devon that may not be 6 floors, but it'll be 5 floors, at least 5 floors high.
Now, a place zoned for business can legally build a place that's 5 stories and 60 feet, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh, yeah.
And this place, though, will be 6 stories and 70 feet.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, and by the way, let's mention
again. Currently, the Northtown Theater, which incidentally is going to be replaced, is 70 feet high.
Okay.
And so 70-foot high building is not unusual in the Devon Northtown area. The Northtown Theater is 70 feet high. People who want to build, they want to build less than 80 feet. And the reason they want to build less than 80 feet is 80 feet is a break point because then you get the question of high rise.
Okay.
If a building is 80 feet high, it's a high rise. So obviously they want to go in under 80 feet. There are other considerations that they want to go in. In a B25, and depending on how much your frontage is, you can go up as high as about 65 feet if you have over 100 front feet. So it's not unusual to have a 60-foot high building.
Okay.
Not unusual at all.
Now, first of all, anybody with that kind of zoning could have built a 60-foot building on Devon, even though there's 2 stories next door. And the extra 10 feet is, well...
I got to explain you something.
Sure, please.
This building is a planned development. As a planned development, it went not only to the Plan Commission, it also went to the Commercial Business Development Commission. It not only went before the Plan Commission, the City Council Committee on Zoning. It went before the Commercial Business Development Commission. It went before the planning department. It's gone through all of these things, and all of these people say we want public input. Well, they had all of these meetings for public input. Do you know what? Not one single person attended any one of these hearings, and they want public input. They had an opportunity at every one of these public hearings for public input. Where were they?
And by the way, anybody that's attended any of the CAPS meetings for the last 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years, I've been mentioning it. The Northtown Community Council, which hasn't met in 3 or 4 years, we mentioned it at the old Northtown Community Council meetings when I was still running them. And by the way, I got to say, with the broken right arm, your left arm is doing a wonderful job today.
Well, I am really angry over this business of talking about public input. Public input has always been
they
something.
could have done this years ago.
This is something I've always insisted on. We've always.
And by the way, you're, no offense, the damn developer should have been done this 3 years ago already.
Now, besides what I have just mentioned, in addition to that, the garage, the parking lot was always a discussion with respect to the Devon Western TIF. It was always considered in the Devon Western TIF. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons that some of the opponents of the Devon Western TIF have been opponents of the garage also, because the TIF included this public parking garage. And apparently, some of these people don't want Devon Avenue to be improved.
Now, by the way,
remember, TIFs improve areas. They don't bring areas down.
First of all, just blocking Devon is an improvement over there.
Well, listen, there are going to be one improvement after another along Devon Avenue directly as a result of the tax increment financing, which is a TIF.
Now, you've talked already about new banks coming there, new developments being there.
New buildings, new businesses. TIFs bring in new business, and new business helps a community. Now, that's exactly why we're doing the Western Toohey TIF to improve an area for new business. Toohey is a dead street. Western Avenue is a dead street.
Sure is.
And that's the reason we're doing this tax increment financing.
Retail places die left and right over there.
And that's the reason we're doing the Western Toohey TIF.
Now, let me...
I don't understand why people would fight a TIF. The TIF doesn't hurt areas, it helps people.
Well,
now, they spread rumors that they're going to take their property away. In all of the TIFs that presently exist in the ward, which are only 2,
okay,
the Lincoln Avenue TIF and the Toohey West and the Devon Western TIF, one property has been subject to a taking, and that was the Patio Motel.
And that was...
everybody's cheering that one.
Yep.
Everybody's cheering that one because that was the home of 2 different murders. The Peterson Park Improvement Association.
And actually a major home of prostitution for decades.
And
and drug dealers.
The Peterson Park Improvement Association was cheering it. They were in favor of it. The only fear I've got is the legislation that passed through Springfield might hurt that one because the city made a mistake in the original suit on that one. So, and it hasn't been completed as yet.
Let me ask you, the reader story, which I know, well, first of all, I'm not a fan of Ben Jaworski. He's interesting to read, but I'm not a fan. Indicate, was there any kind of, in other words, he's saying that they're saying $4.5 million is going to the developer. Now, first of all, you know what, if nobody else wanted to build the damn garage, I shouldn't be using that word, but if nobody else wanted to build the garage, I can see an incentive. That can't be an income-making deal for the developer.
The developer is investing in excess of over $15 million in this building. In addition to the $15 million,
And by the way, anybody who's seen that property, if you haven't seen the show, that is an eyesore. An eyesore is a nice way to put what that looks like over there.
He is, in addition to the $15 million he's investing, he's also investing in putting a plaza. Part of that money is going to go towards putting the plaza on Rockwell. We have changed the plaza concept and have allowed traffic to go through a very narrow Rockwell there. We are not closing off Rockwell.
Oh, you're not going to close it off?
No.
Ooh.
And the reason we're not closing it off is because of the consequence, because of the one-way streets over there. And so we don't want to cause too much problems.
So it'll be like a single line one way?
Yeah, and we've got a wide area. In addition to which, it'll be a two-way, but people will be able to turn off at Devon to get into the driveway, into the garage.
So is there going to be that same kind of left turn there is now against traffic?
Yes. No, left turn into the garage.
But that garage will be situated. In other words, they won't have to cross, stop traffic or whatever to do it, or?
No, you'll have a left turn signal.
Oh, a signal. That's. Never thought about that. See, I don't think about these things. I'm not.
Well, I think about it, and I thought about this right from the start.
So a left turn signal would minimize. Well, actually, what's going on there now is ridiculous.
That's the reason I wanted to close off Rockwell, but I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of sorry to hear it because that is people are the rudest pedestrians in I've ever seen are those going there. But okay.
But in the meantime, we are going to have a wide strip over there, so that we can have benches and so forth. But we have to close it so the cars can turn into the garage. And there's going to be a 3-story high mural on the front of the building.
Okay, I hope it's well done. Most of the murals, I'm not a big art fan, so whatever.
Well,
but I hope it's nice.
I helped design it, so I hope it's nice too.
Okay. I guess we'll find out about your artistic taste.
It's going to represent
Southeast Asia.
Yeah, Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And you know,
which is appropriate to the neighborhood.
I'm an expert on Southeast Asia. You know that.
By the way, actually, you know more Southeast Asian than almost anybody I know.
Yeah. Well, in any event.
See, I do have some Chinese clients, but that's about it.
In any event, I hope that answers some of the questions that are being distorted to the general public. But I'd like to get back to the TUI tip.
By the way, we will, and I do want to just say this in terms of the crowd I've seen at the meetings. They are members of the We Don't Like Berny Stone fan club.
Of course.
TUI tip.
They're not there. They're not there to really criticize these programs.
No, they don't like you.
They're there because of me. And I really don't like them hurting the neighborhood because they don't like me. If they don't like me, run against me next February.
We got a minute and a half to go, so talk about TUI tip.
All right. Let me use this minute and a half to tell you I'm running for re-election next February.
Yay.
And all of you who don't like me, don't hurt the neighborhood. Run against me for alderman. I invite you to run against me, and instead of hurting the neighborhood, run against me. Challenge me on election day as opposed to.
I'll
hurting
even put him on the damn show.
Yeah, I'll put you on the show.
You're going to run against him? I'll put you on the show.
In fact,
I'll still vote for him several times.
Unlike many other candidates who are in office, I'll debate you anywhere, anytime. Give you a platform so you.
And we'll even tape it, maybe.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Hey, I love that. That's going to be great TV.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll do the lefty handshake.
Okay. Thank you.
And by the way, you were supposed to use another 30 seconds doing it. But you know what? Well, in the meantime, if people want to call you, if people got a concern, if people want to pay me my beef fry sandwich, what number do they call?
Well, look, Avi, there may be some changes that even you can't even guess at. So there may be such a change that you may win 2 beef fry sandwiches.
I'd like that very much.
They can call it the ward office. The number is 764-5050, or downtown at 312
744-6855. Thanks so much, and bye-bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.